Shalom, 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 yasha'Allah. This your boy, Brother Shem wa Allah, back at you with another quick edifying video. And today's lesson is going to be called, And Death Shall Flee From Them. And Death Shall Flee From Them. All right, first and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. Like I said, today's lesson is going to be called, And Death Shall Flee From Them. All right, and I came across this article. I saw the article a couple days ago. Well, it was another article, but it's talking about the same thing. All right, and this article is from Motor Biscuit. It says, car accident victim declared dead, but woke up in the morgue 6 times. All right. It says, Ismail Azizi, a 40-year-old man from Tanzania, died in a car crash, or so doctors thought. He hit a fuel truck and was thrown from his car. He hit the road so hard, he went into a coma. It says at the hospital, doctors reported no detectable brain activity, and in, in rural Tanzania, that meant sending him to the morgue. But his family refused to bury him. Then he woke up. Even more incredibly, Azizi's family had refused to bury him because the car crash was just one of 6 times he was presumed dead and miraculously pulled through. All right. These are the times. So it says, one time declared dead after a work accident, woke up in the morgue. The second one declared dead after a long battle with malaria, woke up in a coffin. Tested brain dead after a violent car crash, woke up in the morgue. Declared dead after a snake bite, woke up after 3 days alone in the morgue. Presumed dead after drowning in a septic pit, recovered. And 6, burned alive by an angry mob, woke up in the morgue and escaped into the woods. Sheesh. It says a journalist from Aframax YouTube channel traveled to Ukweli. It says the village where Azizi was born. During the interview, Azizi reluctantly told the story of all 6 deaths. He admits that after his traumatic work accident, regaining consciousness in a dark morgue was terrifying. I woke up again feeling very cold. Luckily for Azizi, he wasn't locked in a box like in some morgues. His body had just been laid inside, and once he was awake, he could find his way outside. It says, naturally, Azizi's village was abuzz after his bizarre brush with death. Sometime later, he fell sick with malaria. A doctor tested him for vital signs and declared him dead. This time, everyone truly thought he was dead, and they even placed him in a coffin. He says, I woke up at my own funeral. When I got up and walked, I wasn't fully conscious, but I saw everyone staring at me in shock. It said at this point, the townspeople grew suspicious of Azizi. People started treating me as if I were a witch. It says, then came the car crash. You'd think the doctors would be much more cautious about declaring Azizi dead, but when they decided he was brain dead, they sent him back to the morgue, and he woke up there again. After that, life went on, but people didn't believe I was a real person. It says, next was the snake bite, which was exceptional because even after Azizi was declared dead, his family wasn't in town to bury the immortal man. Sure enough, after an entire 3 days on a slab, he woke up on the day of his funeral. Afterwards, he sadly said, people consider me the most powerful witch in our area. Even his own brothers mistrusted him. It says, lessons learned. Azizi insists he doesn't traffic in any form of witchcraft. He has no clue why he's still alive. But that wasn't good enough for his neighbors. After he fell into a septic tank, seemingly drowned, and was declared dead again before waking up a fifth time. It says they had it. It says the town surrounded Azizi's house and lit it on fire. He appeared to die of smoke inhalation, but you'd think at this point everyone would double check. They didn't. Azizi woke up in the morgue covered in severe burns and escaped into the woods. There he still lives alone. He wears the scars of his burns on his arms and is a sad outcast. When asked what he learned during his 6 brushes with death, Azizi said, live well even if you have problems. Put the Most High first. And don't hurt those around you because sometimes what happens is beyond their control. It says, is this story true? You can decide for yourself. Watch Azizi's interview below. All right. So, and this is kind of the same article. Talks about it too, you know. And this is the first article I saw. But this is the guy right here. Right? So 6 times, right? He was declared dead and was waking up in his own funeral. Okay. So I saw that. I was like, just like, wow. All right. I just want to go over a couple of the scriptures. I don't have too many, right? But you know, hey, the first one I wanted to get was the book of Psalm, right? Psalm 68 and verse number 20, right? And it reads, it says, he that is our power is the most high power of salvation, and unto the most high, the Lord, belongeth the issues from death, man. Okay. So understand that ultimately Yahawah Bahasham is in control of everything, all right? Even the issues of death. Okay. What is that? Deuteronomy. Let's get that. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse number 39. It says, see now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, I make alive, I wound, and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Okay, so ultimately, it's all the calling of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. All right, 6 times, man. 6 times. you know, that's they said that the townspeople were so fed up. Hey, they tried to burn him alive, man. All right. What was the other one? And these are just kind of scriptures that kind of popped in my head. Of course, you got, what is that? Salakia. Salakia. Want I believe it's 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel 2 and 6. Con. This is 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 6. It says, Yahawah Bahasham killeth and maketh alive. He bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up. Okay. Remember, he him alone. Okay. Yahawah Bahasham, man. All right. That's like I say, 6 times, man. He and it wasn't, there was different types, man. He had bitten by snakes, car crashes, and then burned alive, man. Okay. It's crazy. I think you can you might be able to even search it up on YouTube. Just got a couple more, right? Like I say, it's not really a lesson. These are just scriptures that and this is when you're just as you go through the world, you should be thinking of like scriptures should be kind of going through your head or whatever. So like these are just some of the scriptures that went through my head. And I know this, let me see, this one here, right? It's not talking about it, but it was one thing that kind of went to my head when I saw it, right? It's talking about the missiles, all right? But this is Revelation chapter 9 and verse number 6. All right, and it says, and in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. All right, and death fleed from that man, right? 6 times, man. All right, and he became an outcast, man. He's like, each time, right? They pronounced him, DOA, and he comes right back, man. All right, and ultimately we know that's all of the Lord's doing at the end of the day, but like I say, I was just reading that, and I was just like, man, hey, he might be an Israelite, man. You never know. And then it kind of reminded me too, like I said, Paul, right? 2 Corinthians 11, and let's see where we want. Yeah, let's start at 23, right? 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 23. Like I say, as I was reading, just a couple of scriptures kind of came into my head, right? It was 2 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 23. It says, are they ministers of Hamashiach? I speak as a fool. Salakia, I am more, in labors more abundant, in stripes above measure, in prisons more frequent, in deaths oft. It says, of the Jews 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one. Thrice I was beaten with rods, once was I stoned, thrice was I suffered shipwreck, and a night and a day I have been in the deep, And you just think about, man, Paul was going through it, all right? For Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, So, and I remember, in the book of Acts, you remember when the viper or whatever, I think it was a viper, it was a venomous snake, came out of the firewood and bit him, and the people who were watching was like, oh man, yeah, he's about to die. And he didn't, he kept moving. He just, and they were just looking at him. They was waiting for him to, to go. All right. But remember, he was also stoned, Paul was stoned, and he talked about, when he saw heaven, he's like, I can't even bring it to words, what I saw. All right. It was so amazing. They said basically the words couldn't be uttered, So, these are just some scriptures that kind of came to my head when I read this article, man. But yeah, 6 times, man. It's like death fleed from him, man. At the end of the day, but ultimately it's all the will of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. All right. At the end of the day, man's goings are of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. All right. So, like I said, I just wanted to do this quick lesson, right? Not even a lesson, but it was just to bring out the article and then just go over a couple of precepts that kind of went through my head. So, if you got some precepts, you can go ahead and surely drop them, in the comments. But no, I just want to do that, Like I say, Lord's will, this was edifying. Right with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. Peace and blessings to the elect, the 12 tribes scattered abroad. A mighty shalom to the 144,000 men. Double honor to the apostles and elders of GMS who have ruled well to the spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days. Another mighty shalom to the rest of the elect out there. All right, stay diligent, stay focused, keep enduring. All right, continue to meditate in these scriptures, man. Let this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding be your stability in these times. All right, and fear Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, man. Right, fear Him that is able to kill body and soul in hell. All right. And with that, we say a ball, and shalom.